it's our hand over there in case that we needed them. So thank you for coming to iBerkshire's first Dalton Candidate Forum. We will be asking each select board candidate questions curated by town residents. We will begin with 2-minute opening statements. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer each question with a 30-second follow-up or rebuttal. At the conclusion of the event, each candidate will have 90 seconds to deliver a closing statement. And I just want to thank iBerkshires reporter Sabrina Dams for organizing this event. We want to thank the Dalton Senior Center for having us here. And we want to thank Dalton Community TV for recording us. And the special election is on February 3rd. And mail-in ballots are over there in the back next to the cookies and the water. So, without any further ado, let's get it started. And, just before we start, I just want to remind all the candidates that we're going to keep it on the issues and avoid personal attacks. I say this at every forum and debate. So we will start off with Robert, and you have 2 minutes for your opening statements.
Good evening. I'm Robert Collins. It is an honor to stand before you this evening along with these other 3 esteemed candidates. Of them, I am certain love this town as much as I do. I do not believe you can make a bad choice. Many needs and challenges lie ahead in Dalton's future, including the need for a new police station, refurbishing our aged storm water and sewer systems, repairing roads and sidewalks, and getting better control of our ever-increasing tax burden we all share. My 24 years of business experience is focused on providing stormwater and sanitary sewer maintenance repairs services for over 35 communities in the state. I have also been as well as construction of solar fields, repair of sections of roads, plowing, and building repairs. Doing this has required financial and business planning, contract negotiations, writing for and obtaining grants, and good old-fashioned hard work. In addition to work experience, I have a long history of committee work, primarily at the state level, but also more recently here in Dalton on the planning board and your representative on the BRPC. I have also attended many select board meetings. From this, I have a very clear idea of the significant work that's necessary to be a select board member. I commit tonight to doing the many hours of necessary work to perform my duties well. As you know, I hold regular office hours at my campaign headquarters. Tonight I commit to you that should I be elected, I will continue to hold office hours each week at Town Hall. This, I believe, provides the accessibility the Dalton residents deserve. My platform itemizes steps towards managing Dalton's issues that I believe would serve the town well. If you believe my platform is appropriate and valuable, as I hope you do, then the remaining question is which of the candidates up here tonight will implement them? I trust that my platform of clear objectives, commitment to strive to implement them, my experience, and my commitment to being accessible will resonate with you. And I hope that I can count on some of your support. Thank you.
All right, and we will go on to Rich Haley now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. As she said, my name is Rich Haley. Just get to know me a little bit more. I've lived in Dalton on and off since 2001. I graduated from Wacona. I have 3 great kids. They've all graduated and grown up in Dalton. And that's mainly my main reason for running for select board. This town's given my kids a lot of opportunities over the years, and I want to make sure that we take those opportunities and continue to grow and make this town as beautiful as it has been for my kids and for futures to come. We all know, like Mr. Collins said, we have a lot of upcoming pressing issues. The police station, many things that put tax burdens onto us. The last thing any of us want to do is raise taxes. We all pay taxes. I think that's going to be pretty much the resonating sound throughout all of our conversations is, what are we doing about taxes? We have one of the highest tax brackets in Berkshire County. I want to reduce that in any way that we can, whether it's cutting whatever we have to do to get more money into the town. My main, like I said, my kids were one of the main reasons. I love this town. There's nothing I wouldn't do for this town. I spent the last 12 years, within the football program, running the football program, making sure these kids have the tools necessary to succeed in life. And I want to make sure I want to take what I've learned over those last 12 years, bring them into the town, make the town work as one, make the town more transparent. There's a lot of transparency issues, I think, with this town, and I think a lot of people can agree with me on that. Transparency is huge. People in Dalton need to know where their money's going. It's very important. I think sometimes that gets muddied up with some politics. So, transparency is huge for me. I want to make sure we stay transparent and hold other groups and committees that are not transparent in our town.
2 minute warning, we gotta wrap it up.
Transparent. With that, thank you. I'm sure we'll touch on many other subjects. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, now we are gonna go on to Pat Carsell.
Hello, my name is Patrick Carsell. I go by Pat. I know many of you here. I wanted to thank iBerkshires for hosting the forum this evening, for everyone who came out on a cold night. It was a great turnout. Why am I running? I've lived in Dalton. I raised my family here. I've been in small business for over 30 years, as long as living here for over 30 years. And I feel it's the right time to give back to my town. I tossed around the idea of serving in one way or another, but for my business reasons, I chose to keep focused on what I was doing. And now that I'm retired, I have the ability to do what I can for you folks. I'm not a politician. I'm a resident, just like you. If you were wanted to be a politician, maybe you would be up here, or maybe you wouldn't. But I want you to know I'd be a voice for you as residents. So my voice would speak for you. And it's just a matter of a phone call for you to pick me up at any time and contact me. I only have a cell phone now. That'll be available. I'm going to stick around afterwards if anybody would like to take my number and call me. I want you to know I know the issues that the town is facing that have already been mentioned. The fact about the police department, we didn't mention a whole lot about roads and sidewalks. I know that there are issues with the infrastructure because we recently had people wanting to assess our plumbing into our house to see if we're getting too much lead. Well, that's a good thing to be aware of and to study, correct? So my task would be to listen to your concerns, listen to the residents' concerns, do the research, and I've done plenty of research already. In the short period of time I've decided to run as a candidate, which is not very long. There's room for more expansion on that as time goes on. My plan would be to develop new ideas.
Just a 2 minute warning.
Okay, no problem.
All right, and now we'll go to. Just a note, so the applause is fine after opening statements, but when we get to the questions, we're just gonna hold it till the end if that's okay. So now we're gonna go to Levi Renderer.
Hello, I'm Levi. Just to introduce myself, I grew up in Dalton. I worked for Unistress Corporation for about 7 years until I ended up moving out of Dalton. I worked my way up from Unistress. I was a laborer. I became a foreman. I worked in process improvement and reorganizing the company. There was a couple hundred people there. Everybody knows Unistress is a pretty rough place to work. Well, we had a lot of fun. We made it better. We made improvements. I worked with each group there as process improvement to streamline the processes. We set job, tasks for everybody. We all worked together. We had contests. We gave out jackets. I rose up there to a supervisor. I got into quality control. I was a supervisor in quality control, but then I became assistant manager of quality control, then QC manager. I was sent all around the country for training, leadership training mostly. I took that training and took a position in Detroit, Michigan, so I moved from lovely Dalton, Massachusetts to downtown Detroit, Michigan, which was a little bit scary, but I did it because I thought, the future development would be good for my life, because if I hadn't left, I probably would still be the QC manager at Unistress. I got the opportunity to work with people from all over the country, all over the world. After Detroit, That didn't really end well. The company went under, not because of me, but it went under. So I ended up taking a job in California, working on the Apple headquarters. I was hired as QC manager for the Western Sacramento plant, and I worked with Apple to develop their quality system to manage this project. Just the size of the project was actually 5-mile diameter. It's about the size of Dalton. Could fit this building in. They did $1 million mock-up.
Just a 2-minute warning.
Okay, and then, I moved to California, then Pennsylvania, then Vermont, then back here. I like to bring my experience back to the town and try to help out and do whatever I could.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to the questions, and just a reminder, each candidate is gonna have 90 seconds to answer each question. If there is a need for a follow-up or rebuttal, we'll give you 30 seconds. So let's mix it up. Now we'll start with Levi with the first question. So we'll do, how do you see the role of a select board member?
I see the role of the select board member as being like a representative for the people of the town. I don't really have specific personal needs. I believe in selflessness. I believe in helping people. I get to help people all the time in my business now that I do. I'm at people's houses, helping them when usually they don't have heat, hot water, helping them with a solution, make them more efficient, save them money in their energy needs. And I just think being a representative and helping people with their needs.
All right. Just gonna reset the clock. And now we will go to Pat.
Can you repeat that same
Of
question?
course, yeah. How do you see the role of a select board member?
Well, as a role, I think independently, but I'm a team player. We have to listen to the complaints of the individual, residents of the town, residents and people, business owners, rather. We need to listen to their concerns, investigate their complaints or their concerns, make an assessment. As I would make a personal assessment of what I think and bring that to the board and concur with them, or confer with them rather, discuss develop new ideas and inputs about solutions. So I want you to know I think independently, and I'm a team player. I already said that. I'd like to keep Dalton a wonderful, safe, and secure place to live. We need to focus on roads and sidewalks. Personally, that's what I've had a complaint with over the years, is the condition of some roads in town. Not so much sidewalks, but I understand I know people are using them regularly, and they need to be both aesthetic and functional. So the maintenance and infrastructure of the town would be most important to me, and without overburdening the taxpayer, of course.
Thank you. And now we are gonna go to Rich. And do you want me to read the question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right.
For me, being part of the select board is, I'm working with 4 other great individuals, working to serve the residents of Dalton. We're their voice and their ears. We have to listen to the residents of Dalton and talk to them and give them points of view. Your neighbor may have a different point of view. We have to outweigh all the points of view of everybody in town, weigh what's best for the town. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. But to me, it's the age old, I'm elected, I work for the people. I have to make sure that the board stays on track. And we work as a team to serve the people and make sure that the town stays as beautiful as it is. And making sure other departments have that same goal and align with the town's goals as well.
Thank you. And Robert?
As a select board member, I believe that I'd be the advocate and voice of the people of the town. I would listen to your cries and concerns and advocate for policies and procedures within the government to move some of these issues forward. I believe that the select board is a working body of 5 members that also work with the town administrator that oversees all the department heads, and that in this working and functioning body, we need to collaborate and work together to achieve long-term goals. if we work together as a unit, that, you know, people's input from the town, working with department heads and implementing, say, a 5-year, 10-year policy, we can achieve these goals in a much easier and less financial burden than having crisis all the time. So I would, as a selectman, I would like to help project, you know, moving forward with concerns of the townspeople, but at a rate and a pace of projecting these projects over time.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to the second question, and this one's gonna go to Levi.
We don't hear you.
Can't hear me?
No.
Sorry, I'll speak louder.
Oh, yes,
Okay, I'll face you guys too. I just wanna make sure that they can hear it too. Several residents have highlighted a need for transparency, collaboration, and community engagement within local government. If elected, how would you work to engage residents and keep them informed? Additionally, how would you cultivate collaboration between the board, departments, committees, and the fire district?
Well, I did serve on the fire department, so I do know them quite well. I do look forward to joining them back again. I would say some nice nights out, maybe having a group, you know, meetings, you know, something casual where people can come, maybe like this, but not so formal. Should be accessible, you know, be able to get a hold of somebody and, you know, just being out there and being exposed to the community and hearing what they have to say.
Thank you. Okay, do you want me to reread the question? It's pretty
Please.
long. So, several residents have highlighted a need for transparency, collaboration, and community engagement within local government. If elected, how would you work to engage residents and keep them informed? Additionally, how would you cultivate collaboration between the board, departments, committees, and the fire district?
I would strive to learn as much as I can about the boards, the issues that the boards are faced with, as well as the fire district. I realize the fire district is a separate entity from the select board management. I would, and I questioned that initially when I found out about it, because I would like to see one governing board for the whole conglomerate, the whole ball of wax, or us to be on open communication lines more acceptingly of those members of the fire district and the board. And I hope I'm not ruffling anybody's feathers, but that's how I feel about it. And I'm concerned, number one, about the issues with the past 2 fire chiefs in 2 years, that now we're faced with having to potentially pay them off or whatever, have an impending whatever. I don't even want to say it because I don't want it to go in the newspaper, but fire and water are their own entity, but communication is most important between the two, and I would pass that on to everyone.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid of anyone kind of, you know, trying to threaten my existence in town, because I'm gonna stay here. I mean, I'll be here. So whether you like it or not, whether I'm on the board or not, I would still like to be informed, especially from other board members. You know, I'd expect you guys, if you're in there, hey, let's do the same thing.
92nd morning.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll read it again,
Yeah,
it's
thank
a
you.
long one. Several residents
No, you're good.
have highlighted a need for transparency, collaboration, and community engagement within local government. If elected, how would you work to engage residents and keep them informed? Additionally, how would you cultivate collaboration between the board, departments, committees, and the fire district?
I touched on it earlier with the transparency. Obviously, that's huge for me. And I do agree with Pat, bringing in the fire district into one entity. I know it's a touchy subject, and that's not something, you know, we need to get into, but I would be open for that, definitely. Communication is huge, and that's one thing I've actually really learned working with the youth in this town is when you need to communicate with kids and adults, it's hard. And trying to find ways to communicate and work with everybody and get that communication out there is something I strived in. especially with my roles with the program. Obviously, not everybody uses social media. I have my own personal social media that I've set up for the select board, and I've continued to use that, so those that do use social media can find out about some of the pressing issues. Nowadays, that seems to be the fastest way with communication. But other things is maybe having monthly coffee talks in here. This is a great facility to bring people in and talk. Whether it be a Wednesday morning and bring not everybody works Monday through Friday. Or people work Monday through Friday, so sometimes it's hard to get people in on the weekends. And I'm fortunate enough where my job allows me to take a weekday every once in a while and get out there and meet people on the weekend or weekdays. So for me, just getting communication and talking to people is always huge, and getting the information out there is also huge. Getting the info out has always been the most important key to anything.
Okay, Robert, several residents have highlighted a need for transparency, collaboration, and community engagement within local government. If elected, how would you work to engage residents and keep them informed? Additionally, how would you cultivate collaboration between the board, departments, committees, and the fire district?
Whew, a lot of questions there. So one of the first things that I would say as far as transparency goes, I believe that communication is a huge form of transparency that can go a long ways within a town. Does that mean getting more people to come to an annual meeting, to come to a select board meeting and sit there and watch and talk in the first part of the meeting? Probably not. It's boring, it's sometimes long and lengthy, but there are software programs out there like FlashVote that the town could engage with a software community that could contact all the residents via an email or a text and ask simple questions, and it gives a demographics of information back from a consensus of the whole town. They have so many days to respond. That would be one way to be very transparent, to throw issues out at people. Another would be to have more concentrated groups and meetings like this on a Saturday morning or something, have coffee talk or coffee hour where people can come and talk to all the selectmen. And as far as, I know I'm running out of time, but to have it shouldn't be a big deal for the select board and the town's aspect of management to be able to coordinate and work with the fire department. Between the two, what the fire department and the fire district bring with their water and their equipment, and with the highway department and our police departments, if we all work together as a group, we should be able to come up with agreeable formats for creating and making better structural and integrated facility.
All right, thank you. So this one is about the fire district. Some of you touched on that. And we'll go back to Levi. So local officials have commented that some residents are unaware that the fire district is a separate governing body from the town. There have been some criticisms previously as to whether the district should remain independent. Do you think the town should explore the benefits and the downfalls of integrating the district into the town's purview?
I think it should be explored, and I've heard certain people's opinions on this. I think that certain residents have some very pertinent information to how this stuff was started and, the effects that it would have if you separated them. There is, some things that were put in place when they were designed. And I think that it definitely should be investigated and looked at, and I think everybody should have an opinion on that. And everybody should understand, what would happen if they were to collaborate. Being on the fire department, I do, know quite a bit about that, and, they're both great, entities, and they work well together now. I think that people just really need to understand what that would entail if you did combine those.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to Pat.
Sure.
Local officials have commented that some residents are unaware that the fire district is a separate governing body from the town. There have been some criticisms previously as to whether the district should remain independent. Do you think the town should explore the benefits and the downfalls of integrating the district into the town's purview?
Yes. To elaborate on that a little bit more, I had a question for Leo. What would happen if they were to collaborate? I can't answer that, but that needs to be thoroughly investigated, I think, at this point in time. And it's 2025 people. I know the fire district has been its own, the water department for, I don't know, decades. I think it would make sense for us to look towards the future and the benefits of what may happen if we were able to do that. Especially given the track record that's happened in the last couple of years anyway.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and now we will go to Rich. Local officials have commented that some residents are unaware that the fire district is a separate governing body from the town. There have been some criticisms previously as to whether the district should remain independent. Do you think the town should explore the benefits and the downfalls of integrating the district into the town's purview?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely one of those things, I mean, that's very open for discussion. Should it be looked at? You know, why not? You know, I know when I first moved to town, it was confusing for me, you know, and I'm sure, you know, as we get new residents, it's just as confusing, because especially when you get your tax bill, because you get two different tax bills. So that can definitely be confusing for some. And I would definitely be open for it. Obviously, like everyone else has said, you gotta weigh the pros and cons. If the pros outweigh, then we should probably do it. If, you know, and if we don't do it, then you have to state why, right? And that's the biggest thing, is just exploring all your options and making sure we make the right choice for the town.
Thank you. Okay, and Robert, local officials have commented that some residents are unaware that the fire district is a separate governing body from the town. There have been some criticisms previously as to whether the district should remain independent. Do you think the town should explore the benefits and downfalls of integrating the district into the town's purview?
I don't have a specific direct yes or no question to that. I believe that's something that definitely should possibly be studied and looked into. But the water department and the fire department have stood alone for years and years. They've come under scrutiny over the past few years. They've taken their lumps and bumps, but they're actually functioning, and we have to find out what the benefits for joining and becoming part of the fire department / water district would gain the town, or would it gain an expense that is also burdened. The water district has hundreds of years, has water lines that are hundreds of years old and up for a major structural improvement. Is that another entity and another block that the taxpayers in Dalton would like to take on, you know, by adding to our tax burden as we see it today? At the same time, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be explored and to find out what the pros and cons are.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go on to police, and we're gonna go back to Levi. The town's current police facility is in poor condition. Would you advocate for borrowing funding for a new facility? Additionally, if town voters approve the proposal, how do you think the town can mitigate costs?
More tickets. No, I mean, I believe that every employee at every company really deserves to have a place to work that's comfortable and fair, whether it's the fire department, the nursing home, or anybody. I think that you definitely need to look at the cost, but, you know, looking at the condition of the fire department, I don't think any town employee should really have to work in a place that's not up to the standards of OSHA and everything else. I worked for construction companies, and we always put the people first, because they're the people that are doing the work and making it happen and making us safe. So they definitely deserve to have a place to work that's comfortable, so they can do their jobs and take care of us. You know, their service is very appreciated, and I think the town definitely should look at that and see what they could do. I'm not sure how you're gonna raise the funds for it, but I'd be happy to look into it.
Thank you. And now we're gonna go to Pat. I will read it again. The town's current police facility is in poor condition. Would you advocate for borrowing funding for a new facility? Additionally, if town voters approve the proposal, how do you think the town can mitigate costs?
I'm gonna take the second part of that first, because, the way to do it is by floating a bond, a long and lengthy bond, a 40-year bond that adjusts with the interest rates of the country at the time. It's gonna be an impact on everyone here and every taxpayer in this town, every business owner in this town, which would be a taxpayer as well. So we're gonna have to pay for it some way, and to spread it out over time at a low interest bond would be what I would suggest. Now, I want you to know, would you all agree that the police station needs to be replaced?
Yes.
Okay, it's antiquated. I took a tour. The Chief Strout was gracious enough to give me a lengthy tour last week, and it's actually disturbing to me. I was a business owner. I had a lot of employees that I put a roof over their head and gave them a paycheck, and I would never let them I would never allow that in my own business or place of business. And I know we act as kind of a business, this town business, town, water, whatever, yeah, it's all kind of a business. So I also toured the Williamstown Police Station too, and I want to tell you, that's a wonderful police facility. It was finished in 2019 for $5.2 million. I sent an email off to the chief today. I said, what do you know, realistically, because he's got a huge generator, they have all the.
90-second warning.
Can I just, a couple of seconds? So they have, everything was for 5.2 million, and I said theoretically now, because building costs of materials went up, doubled probably since then, it would be around $10 million, I would think, plus. So that's what you're looking at, that's what you're facing, and I think it needs to be done. I think in the future, on down the road, you're gonna need a new town hall. I think in the future on down the road, there's gonna be the need of a fire station.
All right, we gotta wrap it up, sorry.
All right, I'll keep the taxes down.
Okay,
So,
now we'll go to Rich and I'll read the question again. The town's current police facility is in poor condition. Would you advocate for borrowing funding for a new facility? Additionally, if town voters approve the proposal, how do you think the town can mitigate costs?
So, you know, much like Pat, I had the opportunity to tour the police station. And if you haven't seen the video or toured the police station, I encourage everybody to get out there so you can see exactly what our officers are dealing with day to day. Obviously, if you don't know, there's a feasibility study out right now to see if there is a need for a new police station. I think that the feasibility study is gonna come back as yes. If you saw what I saw, you would not wanna work in those conditions. How we fund that, I mean, you know, that's up to, you know, can we get a grant? I don't know. Obviously, we have to look into ways to mitigate the taxpayer burden. And then that's what it's gonna be all about. It's about taking care of our town employees, and also taking care of the residents who have to pay for that. I feel if we make sure we take care of our police force, they're the ones that keep this community safe. And we wanna make sure that we give them exactly what they're giving us. You know, if we're giving them a horrible building to work in, how happy are you gonna be to come to work every day? I know I wouldn't be happy. And that reflects on their day-to-day. Right now, I mean, I've had many interactions with police force here, and they've all been great. A lot of residents, I think, night and day difference with the police force and how great they actually are. I feel we owe this to them. How we pay for it, we gotta look into that. And that's just what it comes down to.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, local official, or, I'm sorry, that's the last one. The town's current police facility is in poor condition. Would you advocate for borrowing funding for a new facility? Additionally, if town voters approve the proposal, how do you think the town can mitigate costs?
Well, right up front, it's already been, everybody here agrees the police station is definitely something that needs to be replaced. My hats go off to Chief Strout and our officers, first and foremost. They work in some pretty crappy conditions, and they pull off being professional and looking and doing their job. It amazes me how efficiently and how good their department runs. One of the main things that I would like to say is that our town needs to exhaust all the possibilities of local, state, and federal economic bills through our legislators to find money for our new building. We need to go after grants, as many grants as possible that we can fit into, but let's face it, grants don't bring in huge money. Economic bond bills is where it's at. I know we have people that, in our town that have been looking into this process. And if we come back and we end up with $2 million, $4 million, $5 million of generated monies that were to be put towards our new police station, then it has to go to the taxpayer for an annual vote to see if the taxpayers in our town is willing to fund the balance of that department. If not, then we need to start planning in a 5 or 10 year plan, which we all know we don't want to wait that long for a new police department. But if it comes to that, we need to think hard and come up with a plan financially that we can start setting monies aside annually to support the new police station.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna mix up the order a little bit so that everyone has a chance to go first. So this time we're gonna start with Rich, and then we're gonna go to Pat, and then we're gonna go to Robert, and then we're gonna go to Levi. Let's see if I can remember that order. You guys will have to remember if I can't. Yeah. So Rich, the town has a very active green committee, which is developing the climate action plan. Do you think the board should support these initiatives? And if so, how can the select board, sorry, and if so, how can it aid the committee's efforts, including its attempts to reduce the town's reliance on fossil fuels?
I think it's, going green, we hear it all the time, I think it's huge. Would I support the Green Committee? Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely can find ways to save money with going green, whether, LED lights and stuff like that, just finding different ways to save the town taxpayers money, because ultimately, if we go green, it's gonna reduce our carbon footprint, which is gonna, reduce the amount of money that we have to pay for some of our bills and everything else. To keep the lights on, it's gonna reduce those costs. Absolutely, I would love to hear what the Green Committee says about things, and be open to those kind of talks, and, because ultimately it's about the way, saving the town money, and, the incentives for going green. The state offers a lot of good incentives, to a lot of towns for going green, so we'd have to look at that too, absolutely.
Thank you.
That's okay. I would urge everyone to check out the climate action plan on our website. I took the survey today. I happened to grab this from one of our residents, and it's amazing. I mean, the work they've done already, and I filled in most of these as yes, because I have an electric car and one of the cars that takes electricity and gas, and we have solar on our house, and absolutely, if we're gonna be thinking about new buildings in town, you've gotta absolutely be considering adding solar to save on electricity. And any other way we can eliminate fuel. These splits are wonderful that go into the, it's a heat pump that gives you air conditioning and heat. It runs off electricity. Well, plug it into your already. I don't have an electric bill anymore. I'm very thrilled about that. We could potentially avoid expense and roll that right into whatever kind of a loan we're gonna get. And there are also tax incentives. We don't know exactly what they'd be unless we contact the Mass Save or whoever, the government, and find out what potentially we could save. But a good amount of that's gonna be reimbursed over time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are gonna go to Robert. The town has a very active green committee, which is developing the climate action plan. Do you think the select board should support these initiatives, and if so, how can it aid the committee's efforts, including its attempts to reduce the town's reliance on fossil fuels?
I believe 100% that the select board should support the Green Committee. The Green Committee's done a lot of grant writing and has found monies out there to help improve our town. And I don't think they've gotten the credit that they so deserve, that a lot of people don't realize they probably pulled in at least $100,000 of grant money into this town. Another major point that our town, let alone the select board, could do is we should think about putting solar on our landfill. There's nothing else that we can do with our landfill that's out behind the DPW building but put a solar field on it. You can't build housing on it. You can't do anything with it. And with that, the town, if it was a town-owned solar field, the town could generate anywhere around $200,000 to $250,000 a year. And if you take that into consideration, if you had a 5-year plan with a solar field that generated $200,000 to $250,000 a year, every 4 years, you're creating $1 million of capital for the town to use to implement in improving its old rundown buildings and bringing them up to upgrade. With heating systems, insulation, windows, and all that. And I believe that's the only way that money could be spent. But definitely, that would be one major thing that I see. And another is trying to promote electric vehicles or hybrids in the town where they would most be applicable. There are a lot of applications that electric vehicle for a town would not be a wise decision.
Thank you. Okay, and now we are going to go to Levi. I will read it again. The town has a very active green committee, which is developing the climate action plan. Do you think the select board should support these initiatives? And if so, how can it aid the committee's efforts, including its attempts to reduce the town's reliance on fossil fuels?
Yes, I believe the board should support all the committees. They're all working hard and volunteering, probably, I imagine, to make improvements. Let me just tell you that I sell fossil fuels, so that's not a fair question. I sell gas, I sell oil to Berkshire County, Dalton, a lot of customers. I know a lot of ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint by increasing your efficiencies. I also sell electric heat pumps. They have their uses. I read the climate action plan, and I don't believe that half the cars in Dalton could be electric by 2030. I just see that as kind of being an unrealistic goal because of the cost of an electric car and the infrastructure you need to charge them. So I think, yeah, I'd support them. I'd like to also help them. And there's a lot of ways I've seen. I go into houses all the time and try to help them save on their fuel costs because fuel costs keep going up and we want to keep people warm. But you don't want to force people into being cold because of initiatives that somebody's going to dictate to you. I think it could be done slowly, methodically, thoughtfully, and it definitely we could definitely reduce our carbon footprint from eliminating a lot of waste.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to mix it up again for the next question. We're going to go to Pat first, and then we're going to go to Rich, and then we will go to Robert, and then we'll go to Levi. So, Pat, with budget season looming, what would your priorities be when reviewing departments?
Louder, please.
Sorry. With budget season looming, what would your priorities be when reviewing departments' budgets? How do you think the town can lessen the burden on taxpayers while maintaining town services and addressing challenges the town faces?
Creativity, I guess, and I can't give a definitive answer to that. So, but I do know we need several things. We need a police station, and I do know we need our roads maintained, and 2 or 3 of them paved every year. We need our sidewalks maintained and taken care of. So for the safety and welfare of everybody, every pedestrian, every driver that's operating a vehicle. I know, I can tell you 6 potholes I avoid daily driving through town. And I've got a pickup truck and it swerves this way and that way. Can you imagine if everybody was doing that? Saving their tires and their shocks? I mean, there's a potential for a problem with somebody getting injured. As far as how to pay for that, I can't tell you that. I don't have an answer for that.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going next to Rich, and I'll read it again. With budget season looming, what would your priorities be when reviewing departments' budgets? How do you think the town can lessen the burden on taxpayers while maintaining town services and addressing challenges the town faces?
I think you have to, when we're looking at the budget and everything, look at the breakdowns of why certain committees need certain money. and ask them, you know, if you have a question, ask it, you know, if it's something, maybe it's something that needs to be cut, maybe, you know, we can, you know, I hate to use the term rob Peter to pay Paul, but, you know, move money around to make sure, you know, if the infrastructure and everything, you know, needs help one year, maybe we shift money that way. And then, you know, shifting money around and making sure we're spending money in the right places and not spending money frivolously on things that we don't really need. And, you know, ultimately, you know, it just comes down to, you know, nickel and diming and see what we can do to save the taxpayers money.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, with budget season looming, what would your priorities be when reviewing departments' budgets? How do you think the town can lessen the burden on taxpayers while maintaining town services and addressing challenges the town faces?
I think one of the easiest and most effective ways to try to predict expenses is to create a 5 and 10 year plan that is updated annually that will help decrease the unpredictable things that keep popping up in the future. So it doesn't make them a crisis. There are things with planning that monies can be set aside on a line item annually that we know that this needs to be done within the next 3 to 5 years. We can start to work and get shelf-ready engineering ready. Sometimes having shelf engineering ready on projects allows you to grab monies at the end of the year when the state or local or economic bond bills still have money that haven't been spent, that you can, if you have a project that you can put your hands on and say, hey, we're ready to go, we're shovel ready, here it is, you have a better tendency than trying to go through what we've just gone through with Orchard, all the little incidental things that have popped up. And, you know, we almost lost the money that we had for Orchard Road. We need to predict and plan the future of Dalton, and that comes in 5 and 10 year plans with financial planning for projects that we see in the near future.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to Levi. With budget season looming, what would your priorities be when reviewing departments' budgets? How do you think the town can lessen the burden on taxpayers while maintaining town services and addressing challenges the town faces?
When reviewing the budgets, I would say you'd have to lean upon the leaders of those departments. I wouldn't say that I would be wanting to go in there and dictate somebody's budget who's been working in that department. I guess you would have to try to work with them to see if there was anything that they thought they could do to lessen the burden. They might have good opinions, the town might also have opinions. I'd reach out to people if they had any thoughts, and I would just work with the department heads to see if there were any opportunities available.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna mix it up for the next one. We're going to do Robert, Pat, Levi, and then Rich. So first one we're gonna go to is Robert. So the Dalton Housing Authority has about 76 affordable to moderate income housing units. Do you think the town is facing a housing shortage? If not, why not? If so, what are some solutions that could include building affordable housing, rezoning, and bylaw changes? What are your thoughts on possible solutions?
Well, for the town of Dalton, one of the biggest things that I see for the housing shortage is the limitations of property, residential property for people to build on. Not only are we seeing this for residential properties, but just looking for the new police station, property for the new police station has been quite a task, trying to figure out what piece of property and where and how big. One of the things that the state has passed and that the planning board is working on is the new ADU law, accessory dwelling units that can be put on people's properties. These are basically, I'm going to use the word tiny home just so everybody can understand what they are, and that's one aspect. But once again, a lot of the lots in town where residential properties where these could go on are small and they just don't fit into the format. Yes, there are town properties that these will work very efficiently and be nice on and would be welcome. But at the same time, with low-income housing in town, with property being limited, we also have to keep in mind that with low-income housing, that the burden of those housing projects fall back on the taxpayer. So we also have to keep in mind, if we want to grow our low-income housing, that we're also possibly could be increasing the tax revenue that needs to be generated for the taxes.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go with Pat now. The Dalton Housing Authority has about 76 affordable to moderate income housing units. Do you think the town is facing a housing shortage? If not, why not? If so, some solutions posed include building affordable housing, rezoning, and bylaw changes. What are your thoughts on possible solutions?
I think there is a shortage of affordable housing in Dalton, and that presents a problem for the future in inviting new young families here, because we also need decent paying jobs in Berkshire County. So I think something needs to be done with our state legislature, our senator and our state representative, to work with them in Boston and letting them know in Boston, hey, we're still here. We have a problem out here, and we'd like to boost the economy here by encouraging new and small businesses, perhaps reaching out to large corporations to set up satellites. That's actually adding to business in town. We need office space as well. It's not just housing. The cost of a home now for someone is almost prohibited as well. The cost has gone way up. So we need affordable housing. We need to create a future for young people and families and maintain our current infrastructure, keeping it affordable. In the same way, we need to find a creative way to keep our property taxes low. I can't define what that would be. That would have to be a discussion amongst a group or groups. But I think we do have a need for more housing, affordable housing.
Thank you. Okay, now we are gonna go to Levi, and I'll read the question again. The Dalton Housing Authority has about 76 affordable to moderate income housing units. Do you think the town is facing a housing shortage? If not, why not? If so, some solutions posed include building affordable housing, rezoning, and bylaw changes. What are your thoughts on possible solutions?
I'm not sure if there's a housing shortage, but I definitely see there being an affordability problem for a house. As a renter in Dalton, I've looked at houses in Dalton, and I don't see it as realistic as me owning one because of the pricing of them. I think there could be a solution with some precast houses. You know, I've seen the Minnesota, they're building concrete prefab houses. We do have the 7th largest precaster in the United States right in Pittsfield. So I think we could work on solutions with engineers and manufacturers. Obviously you need property, but I think it's more of an independent thing than a town thing. I don't think we need to build tons of affordable housing in Dalton, but I think we do need houses that are affordable.
Thank you.
That didn't make sense.
All right, now we're gonna go to Rich. Want to read the question again?
Yeah, one more time, sorry.
Sure, yeah, sorry. So, the Dalton Housing Authority has about 76 affordable to moderate income housing units. Do you think the town is facing a housing shortage? If not, why not? If so, some solutions posed include building affordable housing, rezoning, and bylaw changes. What are your thoughts on possible solutions?
Yeah, I think there is, there's a housing shortage crisis, call we will. Excuse me. I think not only for Dalton, but Berkshire County wide. A lot of companies are taking their business elsewhere, unfortunately. And it's harder and harder for people to find jobs. So, making affordable housing in Dalton, whether that be changing zoning laws or whatever needs to be to maybe build some affordable housing, I think it's a good opportunity for Dalton to bring some younger families into Dalton. And because I truly believe in investing in the youth. And however that may be, you know, whether it be, like I said, reducing rezoning or looking to, you know, to outside the town into state legislature for some help, maybe that's the way. But there is definitely, you know, an issue, you know, to Levi's point, you know, the housing market's, it's expensive right now. It's not cheap to find a house, and, you know, I feel for families that are trying to buy a house right now, because it's not easy. So I would be all for some affordable housing in Dalton.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna shake this up again. We're actually gonna start this one with you, Rich. If elected, what one change or initiative would be your top priority and why? How would you work to bring it to fruition?
For me, my top priority would be transparency, to make sure that residents of Dalton know where their money's going. And I think that just buckles down to making sure all the departments within the town communicate with each other. Working with the, you know, the fire district, you know, maybe they need some help getting words, you know, getting the word out or whatever. Working, you know, we're a small town, we gotta work together as one. When we're sitting there constantly battling each other, it doesn't benefit anybody. So for me, getting the town to work as one well-oiled machine would be a huge success, and, because I think if we're doing that correctly, the town's gonna flourish.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna go to Levi. If elected, what one change or initiative would be your top priority and why? How would you work to bring it to fruition?
One change that I would like to do is see all these committees filled up with people and fill the vacancies. I'd like to get people involved. I'd like to advocate for people to come out and, you know, bring their talents to the table. I'm sure there's a lot of experienced people in Dalton that are not sitting in this room tonight, you know, that maybe are hesitant to get involved in these open seats and these committees and bring their knowledge to the table and see what they can do to help out. So I would like to advocate to recruit people.
Thank you. And Robert, if elected, what one change or initiative would be your top priority and why? How would you work to bring it to fruition?
One of my biggest initiatives would be I'd be accessible for you as a taxpayer. I'd be representing you on the select board. I'll hold regular office hours, weekly or bi-weekly at the town hall. I'll answer my phone, I'll return emails, and I want to hear from you, and I believe engaging the public in our town affairs. Committees, as I believe Levi mentioned, you know, there's a lot of committees here that I think that we need to get back engaged and get the community moving again. But just being there and engaging and answering or finding the answers to your questions will be my biggest initiative for getting elected to the select board.
Thank you. Okay, Pat, if elected, what one change or initiative would be your top priority and why? How would you bring it to fruition?
All of these answers were very good, by the way, and that's a very difficult question for me to answer. I really think we need to think about improving the economy in the area, and I don't know if it would be as far to jump to get Crane to bring their main offices back here. I mean, we need to try to draw new business to Dalton, and I think we need to look to our Paul Mark and Lee Davis for help in the legislature in Boston to discuss that master plan over time.
Thank you. Okay, and we are going to start the next question with you, Pat. A previous topic of discussion is how the town should repair some of its decaying sidewalks. Some people want to mandate the use of concrete. Others prefer blacktop because it's cheaper upfront costs. Which option, as a select board member, would you advocate for?
I'd advocate for the choice that was the best, really. I've read a nice article by Todd Logan. It was an extensive article. He did a lot of research on this matter, and he brought it to the attention of the board. And it would have to be discuss further, because I've just had a little sliver of that pie, you know, I haven't had a real big knowledge of it. But I think there's a need to, before we jump into the blacktop issue versus concrete, there needs to be a broad discussion involving the road boss for sure. This guy knows what roads on a daily basis really need to have a pothole fixed or need to be replaced. And I haven't had an opportunity to meet him and bend his ear yet, but it's gonna be a group of individuals that will decide this, and I'd like to be part of it and use what I can learn and make an assessment and make a plan, help formulate a plan.
Thank you. All right, Rich. A previous topic of discussion is how the town should repair some of its decaying sidewalks. Some people want to mandate the use of concrete. Others prefer blacktop because it's cheaper upfront costs. Which option, as a select board member, would you advocate for?
I think it's one of those things you gotta listen to the experts. I mean, I'm no expert in blacktop or concrete. I would defer a lot of that to them. You know, what's the shelf life of blacktop versus concrete? If we're gonna be replacing blacktop every 5 years, like I said, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on that. But if we're replacing blacktop every 5 years at $5,000 every time versus concrete every 15 years for maybe $7,000, to me, that makes sense to go with that option. I'm not an expert, and I would definitely defer to them and take their advice and make my decision based on that.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to go to Levi. A previous topic of discussion is how the town should repair some of its decaying sidewalks. Some people want to mandate the use of concrete. Others prefer blacktop because it's cheaper upfront costs. Which option, as a select board member, would you advocate for?
Well, this answer might be a surprise to you. I actually am an expert on concrete. And I would say blacktop. The reason being is because as a ACI certified concrete tester, national ready mix concrete technologist level 2, it's all about the quality of the concrete. And I drove by a bridge in North Adams that's brand new and it's already just crumbling apart. I see the craftsmanship and the workmanship of the concrete that we do, and it just crumbles after about a year. So maybe if I tested all the concrete personally, I would go for that. But the blacktop sidewalks are great. I mean, growing up as a kid, I skateboarded around town. And I really liked the sidewalk over on the side of Main Street where I didn't have to hit a divot every time I was going. And for runners, you know, I'm a big runner. You know, you're not gonna trip. I don't see anything wrong with blacktop, and if it's cheaper, I would probably say at this point I would advocate for that.
Thank you. All right, now we are going to go to Robert. A previous topic of discussion is how the town should repair some of its decaying sidewalks. Some people want to mandate the use of concrete, others prefer blacktop because of its cheaper upfront costs. Which option, as a select board member, would you advocate for?
So to answer the question, I would advocate for concrete. I believe the concrete being put in properly, right, with reinforced rebar as they should be, can last 20, 30 years. I believe in Mr. Logan's report of the sidewalks, he has noted that there are sidewalks in our town that were, I think almost 40 years old. And yes, are they broken and cracked and need replacement? Yes. I don't believe that you could get half of that life out of the blacktop. And the other reason that I say concrete is it's a proven statistical fact that houses with concrete sidewalks in front of them have a higher appraised value than houses with blacktop.
Thank you. Was there anyone that had a follow-up? I heard a few rumblings. No? Okay. All right, you guys are going through this quick.
Run out of questions?
No, I never run out of questions.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I think we need to listen to the residents' complaints first and foremost, formulate a list of these areas and take a look at them. We need to investigate our own and gather that info and details, and then make it, I'm repeating myself, but assess these things, and then formulate a plan with colleagues, or present a personal plan. But until we really take a look at where they are, I don't know if I'd want to put blacktop in the middle of some really nice, in an aesthetic area. The state redid a whole bunch of Route 9 on North Street, Lower North Street, as you turn left to get on Route 9 to go up the hill. And they did a wonderful job. So everybody in a wheelchair can actually, and it's all concrete, and
30-second warning. Just
wheelchair, handicapped individuals can utilize that, which is a great advantage. But I think Levi had a good answer to that question as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll go to the next one. So this is something that was talked about before, something that everyone talks about. So the condition of the roads within the town has been an issue. What do you think is the best option to feasibly address it? And how can we prioritize which roads to repair? And we'll start this one with Robert and we'll go down the line like we did before.
I believe that assessing the roads, the stormwater sewer systems, because the catch basins and the stormwater management are all part of these roads. A lot of roads deteriorate because of water issues. Water not getting off the road, not being drained away from the roads, and it softens the edges of the roads, which makes them break when larger trucks drive on them. My biggest feeling is that with coordination with the highway department, the superintendent needs to go out and do a full assessment of all the roads in the town of Dalton and grade them. They need to be graded on an analytical process on a scale 1 to 10 for every half a mile. This half mile is an 8. It's pretty good shape. The next half mile is a 4. Potholes broken up, drainage systems poor, and then we need to sit down and analyze all that data and figure out how to start managing the replacement and repair of these roads. And one way to start doing that is to start when there's some monies left over in a budget or something, start doing project-ready assessments. So when there are extra monies available, we aren't scrambling to try to figure out how to get a project off the road, finding an engineer, trying to push the point, already have it on the shelf. Promote planning. And I believe in time, planning in this town will see a huge rollover of improvements. It's just, everything doesn't need to be a crisis.
Thank you. Okay. Rich, let me just get back to the question. The conditions of roads within the town has been an issue. What do you think is the best option to feasibly address it, and how can the town prioritize which roads to repair?
It's one of those things you gotta work with the highway department on. I think they need to, like Mr. Collins said, get out there and prioritize which roads are really bad versus which ones, how traveled are they? How well traveled are these roads? I know, the biggest one in town right now is Orchard Road. It's a heavily traveled road, especially by school buses. And I know we're working on that, but we do need to come up with a plan so that we're not always chasing our tails trying to fix our roads, get ahead of the curve, and really curtail that. And just come up with a game plan, which roads, 5-10 years, which ones are gonna need love. They know more than anything. They're out there during these snowstorms plowing them. I'm sure they hit every little divot with their snowplow, and so they know which roads are really bad, and we need to work with them and make sure we come up with a game plan and we get them fixed and try to mitigate the cost to the taxpayers as well.
Thank you. Okay, Pat. The conditions of roads within the town has been an issue. What do you think is the best option to feasibly address it? And how can they prioritize which roads to repair?
Well, number one, it starts with the individuals seated in those chairs up there. you need to bring it to the attention of your select board, of the select board member, the one who's gonna be open and willing to take your phone call, and that would be me. And I would make a list, I would examine that road personally. 3/4 of the roads in Dalton I drive on a regular basis throughout the year, I would say. There's some that I don't know about that are in poor condition. Well, that has to be brought to our attention. And then we would collaborate, assess, go out and check these things out. Now Bud's gonna know about that too. The road boss is gonna know what's lousy and what is good. I can tell you that Orchard Road, Tower Road, and Yvonne Drive need to be done yesterday.
10 years ago.
And they need to be prioritized by how much money we have to avoid raising taxes, to inhibit raising taxes, and we need to spend that money annually and keep right on top of these things. Certainly, the maintenance of them is excellent. I can't tell you how great it is to live in town here. I have a wake-up call every morning, 6:30, when the plow comes by. And they're right on top of it. And this is for the last 33 or 34 years on Raven Drive. They're doing a great job. Can't say enough about it. But it needs to be taken, and we need to assess those roads. Let's say, for instance, we have a list of 3 roads that needs to be done. If there's something that comes up and there was a catastrophe or a problem with another one that may have to trump one of those on the list, then that has to happen. But we need to hear from you.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
And Levi. Sorry, let me just get to the question. The condition of roads within the town has been an issue. What do you think is the best option to feasibly address it? And how can the town prioritize which roads to repair?
I say concrete roads. Actually, I was gonna say in business, I was taught that you steal shamelessly. And during my time with the Pittsfield Citizens Academy, we went through that department, and they actually have a car that drives around all the roads, and they have an actual map of the entire city of Pittsfield on it, and it gives a different color on that map for the different conditions of the road. So I would say to try to find out, maybe I'll talk to them and see how they did that, how much that cost, and then drive around the town and get that map, and then you could prioritize. And they've also in Pittsfield started doing their own roads, paving their own roads. So they're not paying a contractor to come and do that for whatever cost that is. And I'm not saying Pittsfield roads are the best, but they have a lot of roads to manage, and that's how they manage them based on that list of red, yellow, green. So I would say I would try to steal their idea.
Thank you. So we are going to do one more question, and then we're going to open it up for closing statements. You guys will each get 2 minutes. So for this question, I am just going to allow you guys to go back to any topic that we talked about tonight. You'll have 90 seconds, and just expand on it if you'd like, if that's okay. So we're just going to reverse it again, and we'll start with Levi.
Closing statement?
No, we're gonna do, if you would like to revisit anything that was said during, tonight, or if there was any topic that you'd
No,
like
I'm
to
here.
talk about for a minute and a half.
I'm fine.
So, would you repeat it?
Sure, yeah.
One subject?
Yeah,
The
so,
police station. Let's talk about that, because we know it's gonna happen. I'm anxious for the committee, and I appreciate your hard work, on that, and I look forward to hearing the results of, the properties and the parcels and the ideas that you have for spending money to create this police station. I honestly think it makes sense to be on town-owned property, which is behind this building. It's a big parcel of land, the town owns it already. There's some talk that it could be in a water plane or a floodplain. I don't know what it would take, what that's about. I don't know the definition of that. I didn't do all my homework, I'm sorry. But I think it should be visited to have a freestanding new facility, that there's plenty of space, perhaps on either side, to maybe think about the future of a fire station getting connected or a town hall being connected. That's just you know, I dream about that when I'm sleeping. You guys probably are not tonight. You're gonna think this guy's going crazy. But, that's what I would suggest, I would think. And I don't know if because it's a floodplain, can we build that land up? Can you just not make it a floodplain if it is? Or what?
The river.
Oh, really?
All right. Are you
Say no more.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna go to Rich now. Is there anything that you would like to revisit from the, or a new topic, also?
You know, we can go back to the police station, because obviously that's the hot topic on everybody's mind. We really need to do our due diligence and make sure we hear from everybody that's doing these feasibility studies and getting all the information before we make any kind of decision. Because, you know, this is gonna be a long project, and we need to do what's best for the town, and making sure that we make an informed decision so that we're not hit with a huge tax liability, and pushing that money off to the taxpayers. Because, you know, a lot of people in this town are on fixed incomes. So pushing, even if it's $1 increase in your tax bill, that's a lot of money to some of these people, and we need to make sure we mitigate that. So we really need to make sure we do our due diligence with this police department and make sure we do it correctly.
Thank you. Robert?
I guess I'll just do a quick summary of a few things. I believe that transparency in this town is huge, and I believe it comes from communication with the public. The voters of the town vote for us selectmen to do what they believe their wishes. Now, am I or any of these guys up here going to make every townsperson happy? No, it's not gonna happen. And if we think we're gonna make everybody happy, we're delusional. But what we can do is try to get out the information and try to get in all the information we can possibly retain from you by being available, by possibly sending out these questionnaires that come back to us, so we can get a larger consensus of what the true population feels. Because what I see is engagement of the public I've been to the town meetings. I've been to the annual town meeting, and there's 110 people there. There's 4,500 voters in this town, 6,000 people. That's not a true census of what is going on in this town. We need to get engagement by the public. And all those that are here tonight, thank you for coming. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect half this many people to show up. So seeing everybody here tonight there are people that want to be engaged. I see it. And we just need to keep that movement and get more people engaged. So the select board and the townspeople, as a unit, can make good decisions moving forward for this town.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna,
Just,
sure.
can we open it up to the other two, because when you got to my question, you didn't give them the opportunity to talk about any new topics.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
sure.
would love to just give them, if they want the opportunity to
Oh,
talk
yeah.
on anything.
Sorry
that we
about
had
that,
touched
yeah.
Yeah, you did, she did.
on. Okay,
But I know,
I didn't hear that part when you asked them their question. Okay.
any, but if anybody would like to put in an additional comment? Floor is open. All right, Sabrina is signaling me that it is time for closing statements. So, I did this, just so you know, alphabetically by your first names. I'm trying to mix it up as fair as possible here. So, we're gonna start with Levi, closing statements, and then it's gonna be Pat, and then it's gonna be Rich, and then it's gonna be Robert. All right.
So for my closing statement, I would just like to say, one of my biggest challenges in Dalton came pretty recently. They didn't have a coach for my daughter's 9-year-old soccer team, and I'd never played soccer before. And I volunteered and stepped up because they needed a coach to run the team, to run the league. And I learned, and that's what I do. Wherever I go and whatever I do my best, I give it my all. I learn everything I can, and I've learned concrete. I never knew anything about concrete. I learned HVAC. I never knew anything about HVAC. After 2 years with the company, I became the salesman of the year for the entire Maravido company, which is pretty big. So that was an accomplishment, and I know if you guys vote for me in here, I'll do everything I can to be the best possible candidate, the best possible select board member, for you. And definitely listen, 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen twice as much as you talk. This is the first time I've ever got in front of a big group of people that all didn't work for me. They kind of had to listen, and they weren't giving me any dirty looks, because I was the boss. But, definitely appreciate, everybody coming out, a big audience, and thanks for laughing at my corny jokes. And, I look forward to whatever happens, and, if I'm not the select board member in this election, you'll see me in 3 months, so see you up here next time.
Thank you.
Myself?
Yes, you are next.
Sure. Well, I think we all want to keep Dalton a wonderful, safe, secure place. We have to focus on those roads and sidewalks. I think there could be a few more, the line item, residents have mentioned to me that the sidewalk budget could be increased, bumped up a little bit. I think that should be looked at. We need to maintain the infrastructure without burdening the taxpayer. And I want to service you guys to get the things done that you want done, all right? Your voice is my voice, but I need to hear from you. Please call at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rich?
First, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank iBerkshires for coming out and hosting this, so you guys get to know us. For a lot of you, you may not know the 4 of us. Just some of you may know the 4 of us. I think it's important to hold stuff like this so you guys can make informed decisions on where we stand as candidates. So when you go out there, in this case, on February 3rd, you're not just looking at 4 names and not knowing who they are. Because I know I've been in those shoes when going out to the polling booths. I don't even know this person. How am I going to vote for them? So I want to thank you guys. I've had some great conversations with people over this time, just getting to know people in the town that I necessarily haven't gotten to know. I mean, it's a big town, with my kids growing up in theater and in football, that's usually been the people I've known. So if you're outside of that, and I haven't got to know those people, and I enjoy getting to know people. But I want to thank you guys. I'm here for you guys. I look forward to talking to you guys, seeing what's on your mind, seeing how we can make this town even more beautiful than it already is, and keeping it safe for many, many more years.
Thank you. Robert?
I'd like to, once again, thank everybody for coming tonight, and I'd like to hope that in this last 90 minutes, that I presented my platform, which I believe is clear, planning, foresight, seeking monies, and building a town of information, and not disinformation. I believe that the more information we can gather from the townspeople by maybe using an agency that can send out text or emails and get instant data back from our town in a quicker manner, can help resolve or maybe direct the select board and or the town administrators to where we need to go. And last but not least, I will answer my phone, I will return phone calls, and I will send out emails, and I will continue to hold office hours for anybody to come and meet and tell me their issue, and I will try my best to resolve or to at least get answers for questions that I've been brought. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I know that you all probably have been holding your applause, so if you'd like to get that out now. I want to thank everyone for coming to iBerkshire's first Dalton candidate forum. I want to thank everyone for coming out in this weather. Specifically, thank you to iBerkshire's reporter, Sabrina Dams, for organizing this. person voting ballots in the back. Thank you.
Thanks.